So today I'm joined in the studio by LA-based producer MAKJ, who released a slew of hits last year, one of which was a collaboration with Hardwell that went to #1 on Beatport in just 3 days. So today we're going to get a look at another of his Beatport top 10s, Encore, and also to get an insight into some of his production techniques and his style, really. So Mac, welcome along.
Good to be here.
How you doing, man? You well?
I'm good. Great to be here.
Good, good. So first of all, what's the secret to getting a Beatport top 10?
There really isn't a secret.
Right.
I feel like it's just enough content will get you the shows you want to play at.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely being a part of the DJ circle, knowing some of the DJs, you know, having them support your stuff is very, very crucial, and to gaining the fans nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very blessed to have, you know, Hardwell, Tiesto, a couple, just to name a few, some of the guys that helped me out throughout my career. So I got to give thanks to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But there really isn't any secret. Produce the music that people enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, producing for yourself only can get you so far. You know, and for me, I really bit the bullet and was like, I'm gonna start producing majority of this stuff that people want to listen to in clubs, festivals, on their boat, in their car, wherever, you know? So for me, I started producing a lot of the stuff that people enjoyed. Also, I started giving out a lot of free stuff, from mashups to DJ edits to even a couple free originals. So
I mean, I know you have quite a big online presence, right? So that kind of helps to build momentum.
I was only able to get there from, I feel like, the support from the bigger artists and also the free stuff. So I got to give a lot of thanks to Hardwell, Tiesto, you know, some of these guys that really helped my future kind of unfold. So thanks to those guys.
Cool, man. So Encore, the track itself, what was the kind of initial inspiration behind it? How did you get started with the track?
It was Henry Fong, who was the other collaborator on this song. He sent me a melody, and it was very basic. He sent it to me over SoundCloud about 7 months ago. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool, you know, we can work from this. So after that, I started trying to make that bridge between the breakdown to the build to the drop. And I was stuck on that because the melody was so different, and it was very melodic, and it's really not my style. That's why I was very attracted to this song in the first place. So it was hard for me to come up with a bridge meaning how I could transition from the breakdown to the build to the drop. And that took me about 4 months to actually come up with a solid idea. And one night I was, you know, in my bed, and I'm going back and forth with Henry, and I'm like, dude, I think I got it. And he's like, oh, whatever, you've only sent me about 1,000 already.
This is the one.
Yeah, right. So I sent him this one. He's like, well, this one actually works.
Right.
So we went from there, got in the studio with him, and just bashed it out in 2 days. And
have you got the melody itself? Can we hear that?
Yeah.
I think it's nice to hear the kind of starting, you know, the inspiration for it, really.
So he sent me basically this chord layer. Very basic, you know, it has a kind of a groove to it. And then after that, we came up with a top line. As you can see, it's all audio, which he sent. And then here is what I was adding. Has like a little bit of vibrato and legato to it, so
it's also slightly more down. It kind of brings it down a little bit.
Exactly. So layered, it sounds really good, just even with the chords. And then we start adding another layer to it. Almost kind of a guitar layer.
Yeah.
And then the bass. The bass is doing counter notes, so it's more of like the Swedish thing. The way it grabs your attention, and when it comes to this many layers, if you start stacking this many layers on top of each other, you're gonna start losing the actual sound of the melody. So you wanna start counteracting the melody. So in the same key, we started doing different bass notes. So instead of the melody going da na na going up, it starts going down. So that gives it a different, your brain is more occupied if more things are going on. So the bass.
Yeah.
See how it's counteracting? So now all together. And then when it comes in, I added when it comes in kind of like the main part of the breakdown, I add a kick and sidechain the bass. Let me get a solo, sorry. So the thing about how I kept the bass line in this, it has a very short kick because the bass line is taking a majority of the spectrum in the EQ. It's a very full bass line. It's very rocker, you know, has like...
It's pretty gritty as well.
It's gritty, yes. So it gets your attention, so I needed something to cut through that. So a short kick and a very, very strong sidechain and like almost a rock snare.
Right.
So the snare aspect is very heavy snare. It's almost like a kick, you know?
It's pretty snappy as well.
It grabs your attention. So now with the sidechain and the kick, it's a very, very short kick. As you can see, the kick it's cut, but the attack on the kick is really bright. As you can see right here, it's like, it gets your attention because it's like it's a snappy kick.
And you need that for both to be able to be, you know, prevalent in the mix, really.
Of course, exactly. Because if you're doing your self-mastering, you're mixing everything around the kick, you know? So if the kick doesn't shine through, it's just gonna be lost in the mix, you know? So that's why I added another layer from the kick. It's more of a tacky, so if you can hear this.
Okay.
So it's a very small, you barely can see it, but it's another part for the attack. So, it's just a click. It's basically like a metronome click, you know, but it adds more of a brightness to the kick.
I think as well, I've spoken to producers before about having something really toppy in the kick, which, you know, if you're listening, if you've got people listening quickly on you know, a laptop, on SoundCloud or something like that, you know, even a real kind of low bassy, they still get that sense of that driving force coming through.
Exactly, exactly. So with all this in the mix, I think I'm something soloed, so I need to unsolo it. So with everything in the mix, now with the sidechain, and the sidechain, it's very basic for me. I use a MIDI click instead of you know, a ghost kick. Because I like being able to grab my MIDI as length as the kick. So the whole project, there's different notes. So these notes are smaller than those notes, you know. So
I see.
Coming in here, I can drag my MIDI note however long I want my sidechain to be.
Right.
So it's like basically getting your own kick and doing another kick, or using you know, there's a lot of sidechain tools out there now that really you can bend, you know, the VPS.
So you have more flexibility.
More flexibility. With this, it's the same thing, but I'm still using compression.
So you can change the sort of the gap of the ducking of the sidechain throughout the track.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly. Cool. So with the sidechain and the kick, it's ducking a lot. So if I just turn the kick off and hear it with a kick, you can see how much it's cutting.
Yeah, it's really pumping through.
So now with everything. The kick is present, the snare is present. So
I think also for me, you know, your tracks have a lot, you know, there's a lot in there, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
I guess you need to be quite on it in terms of the mix and making sure everything sits together.
I really, it's funny because I went to a couple older of my projects and I saw basically, I mean, this has 107 tracks, which is a lot. You know, my computer hates me for it. But I always constantly have new ideas. I'm like, oh, I should add this, I should add that. You know, a lot of cuts. But the thing is, I use a lot of audio. You know, so I'll bounce something out. Like I have a virus at my house as well, and that majority of the leads are from the virus.
Okay. So
I bounce them out, and like the bass line's from the virus. You know, so I get it, I bounce it out, and then it's audio, so there's no CPU usage.
Right.
Instead of just the plugins I use on it, and basically it's just an EQ, a compressor, and another sidechain. So. And
I mean, I was going to ask you about the lead sounds that you use. You know, there's such big sounds. So is the virus your kind of go-to?
My go-to actually is Nexus. Okay. I love Nexus because it's, right as of now, I haven't been in my studio in about 4 months.
Right.
It sucks because using headphones and not being able to sit in the studio and use sound to do sound design, how I usually like doing it. The majority of my stuff has been all sound design, MAKJ sound design, and I've been able to kind of have a distinct sound from being able to build my own sounds, you know? So.
And I guess for that, you kind of need time to sit down.
You need the vibe. You can't listen to a bleep, one single note for 5 hours at a time with headphones. You fucking kill yourself. So I've turned to, you know, using presets and Nexus, which for me as a producer, yes, that's not as good as, you know, designing my own stuff, but I've been able to get by on it because I've been able to transform the sound into something completely different. You know, I spend my time taking the sound and redoing it in my way, how I would redo it. Maybe from the melody, or just adding some distortion on it to kind of completely. It's like a vocal,
Yeah,
if you want to get away with copyright, you're gonna have to pitch the vocal down or add some distortion on it to kind of get away from the original sound. So that's what I've been doing for a while. But yeah, it's Nexus. This is a very main Nexus sounding track, I guess you want to say on that.
Can you maybe take us through one of the kind of the patches, the sounds itself?
Yeah. Let me see. So from the build, here is, you hear a lot of different stuff going on in the build, so I'll play it for the original for right now. So you can see there's a siren going on. It's a sample.
Yeah. You seem to have quite a lot of automation going on in your effects.
A lot of automation. I mean, all my tracks are all automated. Everything. Nothing is not automated. It's ridiculous how much automation I'm very picky with that.
It's a painstaking process.
It sucks, but if that's gonna get me the result I want, I have to do it. So that siren was just a sample siren. I use this plugin a lot as well. I'm so proud of this plugin because it has a sound that I enjoy, and it's also, no one uses it. No one uses this plugin. And it's called Morphix, and it's made by these guys from Linplug. And the cool thing about this plugin is it gets your attention also, but the sounds are so distinct because it's a 4 oscillator synth, but the main thing is this morph wheel right here.
Right.
So if I hold this key down, you could have a different synth, I don't know how many times by just moving this barely. So.
And I guess also like arrangement-wise, you kind of constant creating movement throughout.
Exactly. So with this, I have the cut wheels, the filter cutoff in this. It's just the same sound. You see how that went up? It goes from 2 different sounds. You can see right here again. So it goes from bottom to top. Go back down with it. So it's completely morphing the sound. And then a simple, there's no pitch with audio because that's just going into a break. You can start hearing the pitch go up. So it's a bunch of layers when it comes down to the build. Same thing with this one. So layered, it sounds pretty cool, and then once you start adding, different drums, different effects, like there's a lot of effects going on right now.
Get your hands up!
Cool. So Mac, I know that one thing people are definitely going to know about is the drop. It's so effective and it's got such an impact in your tracks. Can you take us through Encore in particular?
Yeah. So the drop basically is a Nexus orgy. So there's a lot of Nexus. The only lead on it is Nexus. It's a nice saw, but I also made the lead patterned in Nexus, the Nexus ARP, which I'm really fond of because it gives me a result as quick as possible instead of being in a MIDI and having that kind of distract me, Arpeggiators are like my best friend because it gives me a result as soon as possible when I start plucking away. But also the arpeggiator and Nexus, there's a thing called the shuffle, which you can do it as well in Logic if you come up here and there's like a shuffle, and it's basically having the MIDI note. See how it's cut from, there's a block here on the 1, and then right here it's a half, but if I move that, see how all the blocks go, it gives it more of a groove.
Yeah, basically. It's a swing in there.
Swing, exactly. So being able to do that, go up a couple octaves and be able to switch between octaves inside the arpeggiator gave me my result I wanted to have as fast as possible. So yeah, that gave me the Encore lead. Took me some trial and error to get it, but it just goes up a third, goes down a fifth. It has very of it's a festival feel, you know? So all it is in the MIDI pattern is single sustained lines because it's just triggering the arpeggiator and nexus. So you come into here, and it goes down an octave. So it's basically switching up the whole entire pattern. Also, the drop consists of no hardstyle kick, which I'm really fond about that. It's more of a rocker type, you know, festival track. But the thing about this song, it has a hardstyle kick only for the one. So it gets your attention, and then it goes back into.
And the one is on a little bit of kind of just before.
Right before the main kick comes in. So it's on the bar, so it's on 33, which is the minute. But it also, so you come with the hardstyle kick, back to your regular kick.
Yeah. So it's got a slight like anticipation.
Exactly. It's the throw of it. You really are attracted to the track by the first hit, and then you're like, okay, grooves. It just grabs people's attention, especially in a club with a lot of sub. Because that's why the hardstyle kick is so widely used now, because it grabs people's attention, and it's very subby. You know, you don't have to do a bass line. You know, so coming with the bass line, it's just an offbeat bass, just on and. Also with a very short kick, because if I drag the kick out longer,
it's going to start bleeding
into it. It's going to start bleeding into it. So you can see here, it's just simple. Everything's on the bar. There's no precision to it. It's just cut on the bar. And also I still use that top kick to get the attention, because this kick, the attack on this kick wasn't as promising as I wanted it to, but I like the key of the kick, and it's in C and the bass line's in F. So somehow it worked. But now with the top, you can see how much, watch it changes. Now with the top kick, it's just a lot snappier. And that top kick actually came from this kick. You can see how attacky that is.
Yeah.
So very simple, offbeat. There's no white noise on the drop. Just I let the synth do the work, you know? And the top lead is basically the glue compressor, just to kind of catch it from its peaks and glue it. It's not really doing anything. It's clipping, which, whatever. The Space Designer, which I love the Space Designer.
Me too. I mean, it's an incredible reverb. Like, I don't think I'd ever go anywhere else, to be honest, for my tracks.
People that use Logic, it's very hard for people to stay in the box when you have a program. You think it's the worst stuff ever. You always want the third-party plugins. For me, the Space Designer is all I need. You know, like the EQ is very important in the Space Designer as well. You can cut, you can boost. You know, it's key. There's no EQing on the track at all. It's very.
So you do the EQing in the Space Designer itself?
Sometimes no. I sometimes don't even need EQ the sound. If it doesn't need it, why do it? I cut a lot. That's the only thing basically I do. I'll cut something that if it's bleeding into the same frequencies that I don't want it to be bleeding into, then I'll cut. I never boost on an EQ. Especially if it's something that you want to make louder, just turn it up. You know what I mean? That's the biggest people make that mistake all the time. They go, if it needs to be louder, they compress it. What? You know what I mean? It needs to be louder, put an EQ on it and boost the EQ. No, that's completely the opposite what you should be doing with the tool. With compression, you're trying to, like how the glue is here, you're trying to moderate how much volume the song actually has. I'm basically calming this track down. You know? But with an EQ, it's the same way. You think of it the same way. It's precision tweaking. It's not, I'm gonna boost the shit out of the track with these plugins.
I think there's always something to be said for, you know, don't boost, just cut something else and make room elsewhere rather than pushing everything up.
Exactly. So when the track keeps going, there's this laser I've made. I use it in mostly all my tracks. It builds up. It's anticipation. It's anticipation onto something's coming. So which is really important as well inside of the arrangement, because you want something that you know, okay, something else instead of the drop is gonna be coming. So that was the bridge problem that I was having for a while. So
this is your kind of section between your kind of big impact
And so right here, this is the bridge that I was having a very hard time because the drop has nothing to do with the breakdown.
Right.
There's nothing that sounds like there's this to this. It's completely opposite. But that's where the collaboration comes in. It's Henry Fong's sound and the MAKJ sound. So that's where it's a very hard thing for me to make the bridge. So this is where the bridge comes into play.
Get your hands up.
So I implement right there. I implement the chords coming in.
Okay.
Let me find them. So here's
These are Henry's chords.
Yeah, these are the chords that Henry and I made together. But here's the chord. So you kind of have, okay, here comes a breakdown. So all that is this really cool plugin. It's made by Steve Duda. It's free, but they emulate the DJM 800 filter.
Oh right.
Yeah,
cool.
so it's very simple. It's very simple. There's a low pass, high pass.
Yeah,
the resonance really cool, but it's exactly the same sound you would get from a filter on the 800.
Okay.
So
that's really cool.
it's cool, right?
Yeah.
A gain just to moderate the volume. Starts at -6 and then
Get your hands up.
goes back to 0. So
Get your hands up.
it's just something's coming, you know? It's the slowdown.
What's rising through that?
I made a Hoover, and basically it's just a very sidechain Hoover that's pitching up with this waves pitcher. Let me unfreeze it. It's not even pitching up. It's weird. Oh, I have it pitching down.
Right.
So it's just a sidechain Hoover.
Yeah. It really does drive anticipation. Doesn't
It does, right?
Yeah.
I use that in majority of my songs as well. But another thing is to start coming up with the breakdown. I start implementing the chords.
Okay.
They're very mellow, so it's hard for me to like, okay, what can I do? So of course they're sidechained a lot. So now with the kick, you barely can hear them, but they're actually adding like kind of a sub bass to it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I guess it just gives your ears that sense of what's coming next, right?
Exactly, and so right when that happens, there's a very EQ to kick to come up. The kick is pitching as well. Crappy sample dubstep drums. They give it kind of like, okay, here comes a rock part of it. You know what I mean? So I tried implementing a lot of the different genres that I feel like were part of this song. I mean, it's still dance music, but there's a lot of sounds that gave me inspiration to do different stuff. I never had dubstep halftime stuff in my track, so it was very cool for me to do that. So you can hear right here as well.
Get your hands up.
So there it is, and then that comes back in here. It's very short. That's one thing why I feel like my tracks are doing as well as they are, because they're very DJ friendly, you know. But also, people like them because they're quick. They're to the point. There's nothing really that's boring about them. It's always quick. There's to the point. There's no crazy 2-minute breakdowns. You know? So this breakdown is 15 seconds. It's 16 bars. You know, if I went on any more, because I played this track, I played the breakdown and the drop basically for about a month before I finished the arrangement, which I'm very, very blessed to be doing. To go out and test my songs out before I finish them. That's half the battle, knowing if it works or not.
Yeah. And watching the reaction, I guess.
Exactly, but it's the worst ever when no one reacts to it. So you have to test it out more than once in different places.
Make it a low key gig first.
You can't like play and have people be like, oh my God, it doesn't work. You know, and just hate yourself for the next 2 weeks. But so this is very quick. It's 16 bars. So it's nothing boring. It keeps going. It has some, you know, some weird wobbles to it. Right about now, you get the Encore feeling no one's doing anything, and then it goes back into the build, kind of how the intro was.
You got that siren going.
The siren going that gives your attention. If I took that out, see? It grabs your attention. Just one simple sample.
Get your hands up.
And then of course,
Get your hands up. Get your hands hands up.
something a very cheesy, cheesy vocal, but it works. You know, you gotta think like everyone gives me crap of doing, you know, using these vocals. Put your hands in the air. Yes, it's outdone and overdone, but it works. It works, you know, and not a lot of people. That's my vocal. That's me saying that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's cool that I can do that and say
is
something
cool.
really cheesy and be like, hey, it works, you know? But the reason why people start knowing, okay, here comes the drop, is because when the
Get
vocal
your
comes.
hands
You know?
up. Get your hands up. Get your hands up. Get your hands up. Get your hands up.
And
So
that's the big impact point.
That's the drop too, so that should have something different. It's the same things going on. There is white noise coming on here on the second
Okay.
drop. But it's on the 2. It's only when the rocker kick comes in, the shorter kick.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want anything to grab the attention of this kick. So
Yeah.
and then it comes in.
Same with the bass. Yeah.
Same with the bass. But yeah, it's nothing's really changing here besides I add my signature detune on it.
Okay.
You can hear it. It keeps going up and up and up and up. But that adds so much energy to the drop. It's crazy. I actually stole it from Alesso, not the sound, but the idea.
Right.
He uses in a lot of his progressive tracks. So if I take that out, you can hear it from the drop. But now with it,
It makes such a difference. Yeah.
it's crazy. It's adding more space. It's adding atmospheric space.
Yeah.
You know, which
And it's something that you can't instantly recognize. It's just there.
it's
You
just there.
feel it,
You know it's there, and you know you need to be like moving when that comes in.
Yeah.
So which is very important too. It's you want to add on the second drop. You want to add more of an impact. So you start thinking of what else I can add. This is just literally a sustained line. It's one single sustained line that's slowly pitching up. You know, yes, it's in the same key of the track, which shouldn't be hard to find. You'll hear, very gross sound if it's not in the same key of the track. So it's simple stuff like that I feel like is very effective.
I think for me, watching you work and stuff is the attention to detail.
Yeah.
And looking at, an arrangement as a whole and keeping interest, like 16 bars, and everything's kind of like just keeping you there.
So I have very bad ADD. Like I'm like, it's so for me to think of my if I'm in a club and I'm, part of the crowd, the last thing I want to do is be nodding my head to the same beat for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I always look, when I'm DJing, I always look at the security guards. And I know if I'm doing a good job when the security guards are grooving around because they listen to the same stuff every single night.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of, put all of my attention to when I'm playing. So when I test this track out, I look at the bottle service girls, or I look at, the security guards, even the stage manager. If I'm like, oh, what is this, then
that's always a good
it's
sign.
gonna work, But when it comes down to the track, my track arrangement, I just go very DJ style. I started DJing. I've been DJing for about 10 years now, and being able to use my DJ background in the arrangement, I feel like it's helped me a lot through this kind of ADD crowds that have been happening. Everyone wants faster paced stuff, always to the point. So the majority of my tracks haven't been longer than 4 minutes.
Right.
Which is kind of like the devil to some people. But
Yeah, I mean, some DJs, 6-7 minutes is going to be the norm.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I mean, do you ever struggle? Like, if you have, so many ideas running through in your head and wanting to get down into a track, do you ever struggle to peg things down and get it all in there, really?
Yes, and that's when I need to just tell myself to shut up, because adding too much stuff to a song is your worst enemy. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but I feel like it's the right elements.
Yeah.
It's something I always tend to this. This spectrum. It's basically it's a pitch or frequency chart, and I look at this 5 to 6 times every time I'm doing a project. It's basically the song is an F, so you come down to F. I have every key. So the song's an F, and I look in the EQ and I go, okay, well, I'm missing around, 1300. So I come down here, I need something to add to 1396 because that's the in key of the track. Okay. So when you're on an EQ and you're like, okay, what's supposed to sound good, and you're trying to find the note of the track going back and forth in an EQ, there it is. You don't need to find it anymore. People have already found it.
Yeah,
This is what it's about. So I'll come into here, so say 1396.9, so 1397. So come into here, I'll do the kick. The kick is very, you can figure it out more from the kick. So I had a simple EQ on it. So it's 1397. So see, it's not as accurate. Logic EQs aren't as accurate as some EQs, but it'll show the point. So come in here. It's perfect clean key.
Yeah.
You know, so if I want to duck it out, if you come in the analyzer. So here's another trick I've learned from, actually this is from a drum and bass guy. He showed me there's a lot of Easter eggs in the Logic stuff, which kind of sucks, but it's kind of cool once you start finding them.
I think that's one thing with Logic everybody says.
It's like, it's weird. You'll start finding some weird shit when you've been using it for 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. And why did they design it like that? Why didn't they make it
Because
obvious?
they're assholes. So coming into here, I want the resolution to be higher, so I come to the resolution to be higher. It's a little bit more load on your computer, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
So the Easter egg comes in right here. You'll see this little triangle, which I didn't see for about a year. So you come in this little triangle, you flip it down, and it comes up with these 3 different options. Come into the analyzer decay. Basically, it shows the decay of the analyzer feed. So you can see it now. You can see it now as, you know, it's moderately fast. You can kind of give an idea, but if I speed it down, it basically looks like it's frozen. But if now if I speed it up, how much more accurate that is.
Yeah.
So that's helped me quite a bit. So I'm gonna come down here, I'm gonna go into a lower octave. So come into here. So lower octave of F, I'll go 43, I'll do 44. So this is basically what all the hardstyle guys do to make their distorted kicks. Just come into 44. Bring up the Q a little bit. Let me find a different. Bring up the Q, notch it. Perfectly key. So if I move it up, way out of key. So basically, it's taking the junk out that you're trying to find. So if you go up and down the EQ, you're like, okay, where's the key?
So you find that little nasty bit and you just duck it out.
It's the key of the track. So that's helped me a lot, and it's a very good tool to use if you're trying to find something to fill your track out, but you don't know what it is. So you look at the EQ on the total track, you put it on EQ on the master.
Yeah.
I'll put a linear phase on here, which I use a lot too, but it's a simple EQ as well in Logic works just as well.
Yeah.
So basically the same thing I did on the channel EQ. There's a lot of stuff going on the 1K, 500 to 2K range. So that's the majority of the mud. The mud I like, it sounds like shit around the 200 range. Right. You see a big dip.
Yeah.
You know, because I know in a club, that's where it gets muddy. You know, and I spend a lot of time in my studio finding different pockets of, this is when I'm in my studio, which is never. But when I'm in my studio, I find different pockets from my sub bass, and I really emphasize having basically a set controller for your monitors and your sub if you have a sub. So having your monitors on A and B and having your sub on C. So different channels. So if you just want to listen to what it would sound like if you're standing outside of a club, you put it on C so you're just hearing the low end. That has helped me tremendously. So for me, that is, I feel like where my mixing kind of comes into play, because I can be able to go in my studio and walk around and be like, okay, that's too much. Okay, I know right there works. By just listening to the sub bass, that's very important to like up and coming
really
producers,
cool.
you know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and you know when it's kind of a track that it should be looking like if the EQ is is very, down sloped.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't want a lot of high end going on.
It should always be sloping.
It should be
left to
sloping
right.
down, yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, that's always a good sign. When a track is done, it's on the final EQ, it's a slope down. This is, for me right here, is a little muddy, so when I would bounce a track out for mastering, I would, shape that down, maybe add a tiny bit to the top end, and maybe a little bit more to the kick for the breakdown in the bass.
Yeah.
But very subtle changes that I'd be making, and that's after I bounce everything out, because I do stem mastering.
Okay.
So I don't ever do mastering inside the box because I really feel like it's just not getting enough.
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
hear
yeah.
the differences when you bounce something out in stems and when you bring it into Logic as basically a new session.
Yeah.
The CPU's not working as hard. You can start adding plugins on it that, will act differently if there's not a lot of CPU load, which kind of sucks.
I think also there's something to be said for stepping into that commitment, bouncing it, and then you're there.
Exactly, that's a very good point, because I've had so many times where I've been mastering my own stuff inside a project session, but been like, damn, that doesn't sound the way I want to do it. Okay, let me tweak. And then 2 hours later, I'm like, shit, I'm still on this tweaking stupid sound, and now I just ruined the song.
And I didn't save the original, shit.
Exactly, so it's the commitment stage,
Yeah.
and that's a very good point, because I've had that since I've been starting DJing or producing.
So as we kind of approach time on the session, I just wanted to ask, Mac, if you've got any kind of final tips for aspiring producers. A lot of guys watching out there are just getting started or looking to kind of make the move from being a bedroom producer to actually getting stuff out there and released.
Come to this school.
Yeah, excellent advice.
But it's very hard, because when you're starting out to be a producer, it's very intimidating looking at a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah.
So coming to a school, I went to a production school in LA.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It was called Icon Collective, and they taught me basically, which this school probably does as well, they teach you how to finish. They teach you how to finish the project you started on. So to me, that's the most important part of producing. Finish what you started. If you don't, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
Because I've started, I think, about 10 originals, and I finished them all, but I didn't start. The starting of the projects didn't end up the way I thought they were going to end up.
Yeah.
That's really important as well, because I started with something, I'm like, okay, this is really cool, but it ended up being the complete opposite. But I wouldn't have experienced that if I didn't finish the project.
Yeah.
So doing that is very important as well, but also not overkilling basically overkilling your ears. Sitting in the studio for 10 hours at a time isn't good. Go outside, have a break, let your ears rest, then come back into it with a fresh mind and going, okay, I need to work on this, I'm gonna finish this until I go on to something else. Because it's very easy for a producer to go, okay, I'm gonna work on the build up, and then 5 minutes later, they're working on the drop. So stick to one thing, finish it, go on to the next. I really do basically think of it as a cube. So I cube it here, I cube it right here as well for the build, I cube it here for the breakdown. Everything is cubed for me, my workflow. So having a good workflow, not killing your ears, and finishing project is definitely my tools to recommend.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's incredible advice. I think as well, the fact about finishing your projects is kind of keeping a bit of an open mind. Like as you said, if it is going a different way, see how it goes. Like experiment with it.
Also listen to different music than electronic music. Don't listen to the same stuff that you're producing, because you're trying to compare yourself to other artists that you're listening to. The first thing you're gonna do is go, okay, I'm gonna go to Beatport and listen to the top 10. Oh, I should make my song like that. Worst thing ever. Why compare yourself to someone else? Don't ever do it. Don't make something that you would enjoy making, but also, flavor into the stuff that it works. But for me, I always listen to classic rock. Jim Morrison is my go-to. The Doors, I can listen to the Doors all day. Tom Petty, So if I'm dwelling on a song and I need inspiration, I go sit in my car, put some Jim Morrison on, put some classic rock, and go drive around for 25 minutes. Go get a sandwich or something. Just keeping a fresh mind. Don't overkill yourself, because you're gonna dwell. There's gonna be there's going to be some moments when you're going to be like, I wish, I didn't start this song. I want to start something new, but don't finish the song.
Yeah. Really good advice, man.
Thanks.
I mean, just before we go, what have you got coming up next?
As of now, I'm finishing up this Europe tour. So this weekend I'll be in Ireland. Next weekend I'll be in Barcelona. So there's a lot of stuff, European dates coming up. But for releases, I have the Little John collaboration coming out, which will be good. It's been about a year and a half in the making.
Right, okay, cool.
Yeah, another advice, work with labels you like working with. So it finally found a really nice home for it.
Right.
It's going to be coming out. It's going to be coming out end of February.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So which is great.
Yeah, very exciting.
So
Wicked,
that's
man.
a Benny Benassi remix as well.
Ah, amazing. So that's it from us. Thank all of you guys for watching. Stay tuned and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Every 2 weeks in the course, an assignment is set.
So once I've done my assignment, which is essentially a track, I upload it for my tutor to download, and he sends me back a DVR, which is a direct video response.
It's a video produced by your tutor that is sent to you personally every couple of weeks while you're studying, giving you immediate feedback on your production.
It's something that enables the students to have a one-to-one connection with their tutor.
You see all of the mouse movements and any parameter changes made by your tutor. It's kind of like sitting in the studio over their shoulder, watching what they're doing whilst they work.
And I think this kind of steel can sound is brilliant. I mean, that's a real kind of hook of the track, this. Maybe let's just try recording something in. The response that the tutor gives is completely tailored to the student's style of music or the level that they're at as well. So it might be nice to spice up this drum track by adding a delay, and you can see I've put one here in the return of the drum rack, and if we just apply that to the clap now, you see it has a really nice effect.
If you want to check out the whole range of online courses, go to pointblankonline.net.